Stan's going to test this hole here. Go on the right side of it. What? Well, I can't see on what we got there. Switchbacks are a little difficult on a big bike. Though it's on film, it doesn't look that hard, but and we're down. This is a nice little pleasant run through this canyon here. This used to be a really great two-track. They brought a road grader in here and smoothed it all out, but it was pretty cool before. Still a nice enough ride, but not nearly as much fun as it used to be. They do that so the UTV guys can get in. Well, we're in the short grass prairie of very southern southwest South Dakota on the Dakota Adventure Loop. This is what I call the BLM Loop. It's one of the few spots really in the country that you can ride across vast expanse of grassland, which I think is really calming and pretty cool. Some people just see nothingness, but I love that nothingness. So this goes for a long ways, and as you can see, you don't see any sign of man. It's pretty hard. Occasionally there's a fence every long distances, but there's no houses, no telephone poles, no nothing. This is very, very low productivity ground. This year I think we've had the third highest rainfalls we've ever had in recorded history, so this grass looks wonderful. It still has a little bit of a green tint to it. Normally it would have long since been burned up 60, 90 days ago, and it would be a third of the height that it is right now. So you're seeing it in just absolutely optimum conditions. The soils are high clay content, locally called gumbo. If this was wet, it would be unrideable. Even on this flat ground, your tires would just spin, and your tires would ball up so much that you'd end up with a 21-inch front disc brake that's totally locked up, and you are immovable. So you would spend the night wherever you were. You just lay down in the grass and wait for it to dry out. It takes about 12-15 hours to get dry enough to you can ride on it again. So enjoy your solitude if you find yourself in that situation. Nobody will be by. There's virtually nobody that travels this. Landowner might come out once a week and check his cattle during the summertime. These cattle will come off of here probably about September 15th or so. So then they're okay. We are on the moon. Heck, we could set up a little race course out there. It is pretty cool.
The BLM loop of the Dakota Adventure Loop. This is federal revenue coming in here, leasing this ground to the cattle owner. These calves are pretty darn fat this year with all the grass. They always want to wait till right at the last minute and then they spook. This pasture's probably 10,000 acres maybe, it's really big. And of course the cows come right on the road. That one's kind of cute, the brown one there. So we don't run all these, I'm going to run out in the grass and we'll go around them. I don't really like running the cattle. Pretty big open ground. Nope, they don't. Landowner probably about it.
Over there was just one horn. So he's already been in a fight this year that he lost. They cover a lot of ground pretty fast. He'll stop and look back at us. If you're hunting, that's your 450-yard shot or so. What I'd suggest you do, Bryant, is either go off right there or go through here, but go to the right of that rock. And like I said, just stay 3-4 feet upstream of the waterfall and you'll be fine. And you can paddle, it's not that deep. Good job. Well, I wouldn't have gone that close to it. Yeah, if you fell, then you're screwed. You go next, and I'll film you. Then when I come across, you can film me from the other side. This is the low point of the Dakota Adventure Loop. We're at 3,278 feet. The old Bear Mountain is the high point at 7,200 feet. Crossing the Cheyenne River. So always on a big bike, even though there's not a lot of water here, it's always kind of a concern. So here goes Mr. Young on the mighty KLR. And he's through. Guess I could take off the traction control. Back tires spinning here with that traction control. Except for the boot full of water. Yeah, that's why you break your toe in those. Yeah, right. Now, okay, now we'll see some horses. Nope. Not generally, I'll put it that way. Ooh. Well, you've been down to this point. Yeah, right. No, we drove over. We came in from the other side, remember, and took pictures from that shoreline. Now these rock bluffs down here where this turns, if you did want to camp here and didn't want to get permission from the landowner, there's a little tiny 40 acres of BLM land right here. So this is the southeast corner of it right here. But the 40 acres to our left is BLM, so you could camp on that if you wanted. This road used to be just terrible rough. It was kind of fun, but you know, they've withstood out too. Yeah, the horse sanctuary is privately owned. There's an easement through it. And it's okay just to ride through, but if you're going to stop and take pictures and follow the horses around and stuff, you really ought to go to the park headquarters and buy the pass, because that's how they make their living. So it'd be kind of unfair to not do that if you're going to concentrate on the horses. And we may or may not see horses, we'll see. Generally I do. But this is one of the largest private horse sanctuaries in the country. He has Jeep kind of vehicles. He runs people around on tours, let them see the horses. These are all, you know, adopted horses from mostly BLM land in the southwest, where they've just overrun the range, and you know, the folks won't let them get rid of the horses, so they're way overgrazing the land. They have like almost 5 times as many as what the load carrying capacity is. So our federal tax dollars are feeding many thousands of horses for no purpose really, other than not getting rid of them. And that process will just continue to get worse, and I guess at some point somebody will say, well, it's crazy that we're spending all this money on feed for nothing, and reduce the herd numbers to match the population. So there's some to the right. That's one of the tour buses there. So those people are taking pictures and things. Sometimes one of their guides will stop you and say, what are you doing on here? But if you're on this road and not, stopping to take pictures and stuff, you're perfectly fine. I mean, they won't give you a hard time. But look at the deer sitting here on the right-hand side. He's bedded down. Muley right here. No, it's a doe. See him to the right. See it right there? She's even got a spot for a target. See this? Hello, young lady. And if there were, 100 of these kinds of things around the country where private people would be willing to take those horses and feed them, that would be great. But, not many places are going to, spend $100,000 a year to feed horses that don't do anything, In fact, I would bet that he spends more than $100,000 a year in feed. Look at all the prairie dogs here. This town wasn't here last time I was here. Hello, little prairie dog. But you can see why ranchers don't like this. I mean, there's no grass where the prairie dogs are. They eat every stick. Gosh dang, this town got big fast. I'm sure he's had lots of people ask him if he can shoot prairie dogs, and he must say no. If this gets a lot worse with the neighboring properties over there, that'll become a nuisance, and they'll require him to reduce the prairie dog herd once they start going under the fence and getting on the neighbor's property. You can see right now the neighbor must be poisoning to keep him off his ground. This was an old schoolhouse. I think it was built 1880 or something, it says on here, that locals came together and restored. And it's kind of cool. It'll have the date here. 1891. 1st through 8th grade. No, but I have used the outhouse. But, typical one-room schoolhouse. Well, I shouldn't say typical. That's a lot nicer than the ones you see most of the places. But probably drew kids from, 15 miles probably. Kids either walked or rode a mule or horse in here every day. So, you taught the older ones to help the little kids, and that's what you did. But this pavement is a really nice, pretty ride. And we're going to go by Cascade Springs and the town of Cascade, which is on some really nice water, really pretty areas. The guy who owned that built it up. He built a hotel. There's a lot of elaborate stuff there before anything was there. And he thought he was going to get the railroad to come through there. And he kept his price so high for the access easement that the railroad says, go screw yourself. This is Cascade Falls, but there's a lot of people, so we won't go. Well, there'll be a lot of them with bikinis. Do you all want to stop? Okay. Less than a bikini. See, this is one of the flows here, but the one on the other side is the one that's warm water. So they mix right there. The confluence is right above the falls, but it's a beautiful spot. if you're kind of on, no, it's crystal clear. And there's rock ledges, there's scooped out things that are kind of like natural bathtubs or hot tubs that you can sit in. These rock formations on these edges right here, though, have lots of rattlesnakes. So you want to be careful when you're walking through there. But when we get up here to the old town of Cascade, like I said, he kind of built the town in advance of development, thinking he'd get the railroad to go through. But he wanted such a high price, the railroad told him to go fish and never put the railroad in, and then the town had nothing. There's another picnic area up here and a camp area that's really pretty too. Right here on our left's a really pretty spot. But this gives you a good idea of the topography changes in the Black Hills, because we go to these red soils. You know, we had a little bit of that yesterday. We didn't quite get into the big part when we were hawk right there. But you get this red hogback that comes up. And it's sort of interesting to see how forest fires work. This burned, oh, I don't know, it's probably 9 years ago now. These areas look so much nicer after they burn. They get opened up and you see the rocks, you start to see some deciduous coming up. Didn't burn any of these houses in here. I'm sure the people were pretty worried. I'm sure they were fighting those fires pretty hard. If I could have gotten that route along the river, right up here is where you'd come out. Angostura Reservoir is on the other side of that ridge, over there to the right. And that's a nice drive back through Sheps Canyon to the park. Okay, so this is Wind Cave National Park in the Dakota Adventure Loop. Run into a little spot here where there's a whole lot of prairie dogs really close to the road, which is kind of cool. These towns just get bigger and bigger all the time. A year ago they weren't on the other side of that fence, so that's how far they've branched out. You'll see them all over both left and right here. You can see how they eat the grass down to nothing. That's why, you know, cattle guys hate them. Plus, livestock will stick their foot in the hole and break their leg. Like rats, just every place. Let's say this town has probably come as close to doubled in 2 years in size. Yeah, the feds don't do anything with them, to my knowledge. I guess if they get bad enough, they might do a poison campaign. I don't know. If they do, they don't publicize it very much. Well, they get a plague. It's a plague that they get, and then it'll wipe them down. But I wouldn't think they would. I mean, the plague can cause problems to other animals also, including humans. So I wouldn't think they would want to use that as a control measure. Trail that hardly anybody ever travels. Got Bryant O'Neill here from Fort Worth, Texas. Dakota 600 vet, but pretty cool view here that not many people see. Looking up into the Harney Range there. There's Todd Young back there watering the pine tree. And down below there is a campground near Custer. And actually, when Custer came to the Black Hills, his second campground near Custer was down at those trailers that you're seeing down there. Gold was discovered about 3/4 of a mile from what those trailers are there. But hadn't been up here in about 5 years, and pretty cool view.